Okay, so this is where it all starts to come into play, right? So we have t over 3 is our angle that we're trying to find. And not our angle we're trying to find, but that is our angle that we're going to use to evaluate for our 6 trigonometric functions. So we're going to need to find the value, though. To evaluate this, what we can do is we can find the point that's on the unit circle, and that's what we've talked about previously. So t over 3 correlates to the point of t pi over 3, so we're going to have equals, or evaluates to the coordinate point of 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. All right. And one thing we mentioned when I was talking about, sine, cosine, tangent, and so forth, we related the sine to be our y-coordinate of your point on the unit circle of your angle. So the y-coordinate, remember, think about every coordinate has an x and a y-coordinate. So if I want to evaluate sine, so the sine of my angle t over 3, which I'm not going to plug t over or pi over 3 in for each one of these, but you can see instead of writing sine of t, to evaluate sine of pi over 3, I just look at the y-coordinate of the coordinate point that it correlates to. So sine of t, which is pi over 3, is going to correlate to the y-coordinate, which is square root of 3 over 2. So therefore, the cosine is going to relate to the x-coordinate, which is going to be 1/2. The cosecant of that is going to be the reciprocal. So it's going to be 1 over the square root of 3 over 2. I'll get to simplifying here in a second. Secant is going to be the reciprocal of my cosine, which is 1 over 1/2. And tangent, remember, is going to be your y over your x. So tangent is going to be the square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. And your cotangent is going to be your x over your y. Okay, so fun stuff, right? So we have our sine and our cosine, and those are usually the easiest to get started with because a lot of the times when doing the rest of these angles, we got to simplify, and a lot of students get a little caught up when they're simplifying their fractions. So I'll go through this again, and just remember that when you're multiplying a number times to get a number off the bottom, an easy way to do is always multiply it by its reciprocal. So let's start one without a square root just so we can practice. So secant, if I wanted to get 1/2 the bottom, I would multiply the top by 2 over 1 and the bottom by 2 over 1 because 2 over 1 times 1/2 is just 1. And remember, whenever you divide something by 1, it just becomes in what you're dividing it by. So therefore, you end up getting 1 times 2 over 1, which ends up just equaling 2. And you can see that 1/2 and 2, those are reciprocals of each other, so it works. So for here, I'm going to get the same thing, but the problem when you have a square root is, well, not really the problem, but what you need to be aware of now is, yeah, okay, that deals to 1, so now you're left with 2 over radical 3, right? But remember, just like you can't divide by a fraction, you can't divide by a rational number. So now I need to make sure I rationalize the denominator, and my final answer is going to be 2 radical 3 over 3. Same thing over here. When I multiply across, I can really just multiply my reciprocal. I get 2 over 2 radical 3. My 2's now cancel out, so I'm left with 1 over radical 3. Rationalize the denominator, and I get radical 3 over 3. Here, I multiply by 2 over 1, and the 2's cancel out, and I'm just left with square root of 3. So, ladies and gentlemen, what you do, the reason why it's so important for you to get practice with this, because the more you do with this, the faster and faster you get at this, the more you're just like, oh, rationalize the denominator, you'll get these answers, and you'll just almost have them memorized. That's how quick you can make this, but you got to get to that level. You got to practice it. So if you have any questions or anything else, please make sure you comment below. Also subscribe, as I got plenty more videos for you. So thanks.